Today we're going to be looking at how to plot points on a graph. We'll look at plotting points on a positive x and y axis and then take that further into a four-quadrant system. We'll be looking at the Cartesian coordinates of an x, comma, y system and how we can plot those points on a graph. So please pay attention. First of all, we're going to be looking at the coordinate system. The coordinate system works like this, where I give you an x value and a y value, and then you plot those x and y values based on the x and y axis. So we have an x and y axis. The y axis is our vertical axis, and our x axis is our horizontal axis. So and so we have this, and then it goes into infinity. These values, these x values go all the way up to infinity. The y values go all the way up to infinity. So this point here would be some point that we call an x value and a y value. So we just call that x comma y point. Okay, and as you can see, it's over so many x. This distance here is considered x, and this distance here is considered y. And then we just kind of go up, and we go over, and we plot our point. So this is called the Cartesian coordinate system, and we will be using it to plot our points. You can also look the other way, look at a graph, and see how that tells us the coordinates. So let's look at that direction. So we have a graph, and say we have 2 points. So this is 7, and say this is 5. And what that means is this distance from our origin of where they cross, this is 7 units, whatever the units are. And this is 5 units, okay? And so maybe our point is right there where 7 and 5 meet, okay? So, and 5 meet. So that's our point. Our point would be an x value and our y value. And we would call this point 7, comma 5. That is our point 7, comma 5. Because it is 7 units away from the origin on the x-axis, and it is 5 units away on the y-axis from the origin. So let's see what that would look like in a point system, and you want to plot it, and which is what we're trying to do. So let's plot some numbers. 3, 2, 1, 5. Try it again. And 6, 2. So let's just, what axis is this again? This is our x-axis. and this is our y-axis. So let's say we have, units on the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have the vertical 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're going to plot these points on this grid system, this graph that we have going. Now your graph paper will be very useful in this situation because you'll have a nice grid. So you can have a grid system on this. So let's plot the first point, which is 3, 2. Don't forget, this is also known as x, y. So we always do the x first. Okay, x, y. We always do the x, 3, and then we will go up to 2, and we will plot our point. And then we will go 1, 5, 1, 5, and we will plot our point. And we can do 6, 2. 6, 2. Now, we're not connecting these dots or anything. We're not doing that. All we're doing is plotting points. And when we plot our points, we want to label our points. So this point is 3, 2. This is 1, 5. And this is 6, 2. Plotting your points and labeling them is important. If you were to label this 2, 3, we would know that the point was not correct for what the label was. That's why we label our points, so we know exactly if it's correct or not. So this would be something how you plot your points. We just did the last one where we have a graph and we now need to decide what the points are. This one we have our graph and we are placing our points that we're given. So here we go. You're going to be doing an interactive activity based on plotting points, recognizing the points on a graph. So pay attention, do the interactive just like you've done for the past couple days. There is 2 things that are a little bit different. There's one activity sheet, just a front side activity sheet, and then I've given you an activity to do where you need to choose a character, whether it's the bat symbol or the Jets logo, Mickey Mouse. You can do Tigger, you can do Winnie the Pooh, you can do Bambi's Friends if you feel so led to be challenged in that sense. Where you have to plot all these points, connect the lines, okay, and follow the directions, and you'll be able to draw out your character that you chose using the coordinate system. So before we go there, I want to show you one more on the 4 quadrants as opposed to just the 1 quadrant. We're focusing on 1 quadrant. We're going to go to 4 quadrants. So before I give you an assignment, let's talk about the 4 quadrant system. The 4 quadrant system is focusing on just 4. I've been working with you with 1 quadrant. Now we're going to go into a negative x and a negative y quadrant system. So it looks like this. Remember that the lines go on forever. So our horizontal, remember, is our x-axis. Okay? And then this is our y-axis. Okay? These guys up here are what we call positive and positive x. We call this negative x and negative y. So down here is negative y values, over here is negative x values, positive y, positive x values. We call this quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. So those are our 4 quadrants. That's why we call it a 4 quadrant system. And so when I give you values, say I give you a positive value, positive x, positive y. They'll be in that quadrant somewhere. Over here would be negative x values, positive y values. Anything that has a negative x first and then a positive y would be in this area. Over here we have negative x, negative y, and last but not least, positive x, negative y. Okay, so positive x, positive y, negative x, positive y, negative x, negative y, and then positive x, negative y. So this might be, this point here might be 5. Just make it easy. We'll call this 4. Okay, both of those numbers are positive. Okay, over here we might say negative 3 because it's in the x direction, and notice it's a negative x value. And say negative 6. Okay, so we can plot all these points, right? We can say that, oh, there's this point here. It's 5, 4. 5, 4. Well, what happens if I take I'm going to do a different color so you can see it. What happens if I take this 4 and this negative 3? Well, that point right there is going to be negative 3, 4. Negative 3, 4. Let's go down here to the bottom. Let's change colors again. Let's go to red. Yeah, let's not go to red. Let's go to orange. 3 and 6. Maybe you have that point down there. Negative 3, negative 6. Okay, so now we have positive, negative x, positive y. We have negative x, negative y, and last but not least, say we get this point. That point would be positive 5, negative 6. 5, negative 6. So all these points are noticed on the graph. So we've done some plotting points here. Just know that this is a negative x values over here, positive y still. Down here is negative x and negative y. Over here would be your positive x's and negative y values. So when you plot your points, you can do that. So they're going to give you some examples on the in simulator or the interactive activity. Furthermore, you are also going to be able to do that an activity where you are going to be drawing a cartoon figure or a logo, depending on if you choose Batman and Jet's logo. But if you choose a logo or a character, you're going to be using the 4-quadrant system. Okay, I also provided a graph paper for you so that you can use the graph that I give you. 4-quadrant system and plotting those points. Make sure when you're doing the x and y values, make sure you go over every box is 1. Don't go skipping boxes, and don't skip numbers when you number your boxes. So every box is 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like it did on the last video, or the last slide. When you are graphing your cartoons, make sure that you do it very carefully and connecting the dots when they tell you to. And there's going to be times where they tell you to stop. Don't connect the dots. Follow directions. You'll make a nice cartoon, and it gets progressively difficult. If you start with the Bat logo and Mickey Mouse and whatnot, and eventually you'll get to Bambi and Friends, which is very difficult. If you're really challenged to do that, then that would be awesome. I would love to have some examples of that. So bring those items with you when you come to tutoring the end of the week, and I'll see you later.